So Jamie watched video 1. He understood the 2 energy systems. He got the insulin piece. He even started paying attention to his eating window. And then he went online and got completely overwhelmed. Intermittent fasting, autophagy fasting, water fasting, 1 meal a day, gut reset, immune reset, dopamine reset. Everyone doing something different, calling it something different, claiming it did something different.
Jamie had one question. Which one is actually for me?
That's what this video is about. Because fasting isn't one thing. There are 6 different approaches. Each one works over a different time window. Each one may do something different in the body. And each one tends to suit a different situation. By the end of this video, you'll know what all 6 are, what each one is generally linked to, and where someone like Jamie, or you, might reasonably start. A quick reminder from video 1. Just a quick anchor before we get into it. Your body starts shifting from sugar burning toward fat burning at around the 8-hour mark after your last meal. Around 12 hours in, ketones begin flowing. Around 15 hours, certain hormones start to shift.
That timeline is what the 6 fasting types are built around. Each one pushes a little further into that window, and each one may offer something the previous one doesn't quite reach.
Think of it like floors in a building. The longer you fast, the higher you go. Each floor has something a little different waiting. Intermittent fasting, the ground floor. This is where almost everyone starts, and for a lot of people, just this floor changes things noticeably. Intermittent fasting is simply eating within a set window each day and leaving 12 to 16 hours without food. Last meal at 8 in the evening, first meal the next day at noon. That's it. Nothing more complicated than that. At this level, your body has had enough time to work through its sugar stores and start producing ketones. That calm, clear feeling Jamie noticed in video 1, the one that showed up when he pushed his morning meal back, tends to appear around here for a lot of people. Hunger often settles. Energy tends to feel steadier. Some people also notice gradual shifts in how their body feels and looks over time. Nothing dramatic, nothing overnight, just a slow, steady change as the body gets more regular access to its second energy system. This is the most natural starting point for most people. It doesn't require anything extreme, just a little more intention around when the window opens and closes. Jamie started here, and for the first couple of weeks, this was enough. Autophagy fasting, the second floor. Autophagy sounds complicated. What it describes is actually pretty simple. It's a process where your cells do a kind of internal tidy. They identify worn out or damaged parts and break them down to be recycled. Your body's built-in housekeeping system. When you're eating regularly, the body is focused on digestion. But when you go without food for a longer stretch, some research suggests that housekeeping process may become more active. Your cells get a chance to do the cleanup work that usually gets postponed. A Japanese scientist, Dr. Yoshinori Osumi, won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016 for his research on this. So it's real, recognized biology, though how it plays out practically for everyday people is still something researchers are exploring. Around the 17-hour mark is where many people in this space point to as a meaningful threshold. Not a dramatic line, more of a gradual shift. Jamie hit 17 hours almost by accident one morning. He just pushed his first meal back a little further than usual. His thinking felt unusually clear. He didn't know why at the time. Now he has a better sense. The gut reset fast, the third floor. This one surprised me when I first came across it. Most people think of fasting in terms of fat loss or mental clarity. The gut isn't usually the first thing that comes to mind, but it might be one of the places that responds most noticeably to a longer fast. Some research out of MIT suggested that cells involved in maintaining the gut lining may become more active after around 24 hours without food. These are stem cells, the body's general repair crew, and for a lot of people, the gut could use that kind of attention. Years of processed food, stress, and other factors can leave the gut's ecosystem worn down. A longer fast may give the body a window to do some of that internal work, though individual responses vary and the research is still building. Jamie tried his first 24-hour fast on a quiet Sunday. He was nervous beforehand. He kept water and black coffee close, went for a walk in the afternoon, found it more manageable than he'd expected. His digestion felt a little calmer in the days that followed. He couldn't say for certain it was the fast, but it was enough to make him want to try it again. The fat burner fast, the fourth floor. Now we're into longer territory, and this is the one that tends to get people's attention. Around the 36-hour mark, the body has had an extended stretch of low blood sugar and settled insulin. Some research and clinical observation suggests the body may start drawing more noticeably from stored fat at this point, including around the midsection, which tends to be one of the more stubborn areas for a lot of people. Dr. Pelz describes this as a level where people sometimes notice that a weight loss plateau starts to shift, but it's not a guaranteed outcome, and it's not a quick fix.
A 36-hour fast is a real commitment. It suits people who have already been doing shorter fasts comfortably and feel ready to explore a bit further. Some use it occasionally when progress feels stuck. Others find shorter fasts work well enough and never feel the need to go this far. Both are completely fine.
Jamie hasn't tried this one yet. He's still building up, but understanding what it's associated with has already changed how he thinks about longer fasts. Less like deprivation, more like a choice. The dopamine reset fast, the fifth floor. This one is a little different from the others. It's less about fat or gut repair and more about the relationship with food itself. Around 48 hours, some early research points to possible effects on the brain's dopamine system, the system connected to motivation, reward, and the pull toward things we enjoy, including food. In a world where enjoyable food is available constantly, that system can get a bit worn down over time. You eat something you enjoy, you feel good, your brain nudges you toward more. The loop keeps running. Some people find they need more of the same food just to feel the same satisfaction.
Some early research suggests an extended fast may offer a kind of reset in this area. That returning to food after roughly 48 hours can feel different for some people, more satisfying, less driven, though experiences vary a lot, and this research is still early. Some early research suggests an extended fast may offer a kind of reset in this area. That returning to food after roughly 48 hours can feel different for some people, more satisfying, less driven, though experiences vary a lot, and this research is still early. Jamie recognized the loop. The afternoons where something sweet led to wanting something sweet again 2 hours later. The idea that there might be a biological side to that and a possible way to interrupt it felt worth knowing about. The immune reset fast, the top floor. This is the deepest level, and it comes with the most important reminder in this whole video. Please speak with your doctor before attempting a fast of this length, especially if you're managing any health condition, taking any medication, or have any complicated history with food. This is not a starting point. It's something experienced fasters explore with proper medical guidance. At around 72 hours, some research has pointed to notable effects on the immune system. Dr. Valter Longo's work, which looked at patients going through chemotherapy, suggested that extended fasting may support the clearing of older immune cells and the emergence of new ones when eating resumes. His findings attracted significant attention. The research is still ongoing.
Dr. Pells herself tried a 5-day fast to address a persistent Achilles tendon injury that hadn't responded to anything else. She describes feeling something shift in the tendon on the 4th day, says the pain resolved after she returned to eating. She shares that story as an example of what the body may sometimes be capable of, not as a promise of what it will do for everyone. Every body is different. At this level, medical guidance isn't optional, it's essential. So where do you start? The honest answer, wherever feels like the smallest stretch from where you are right now. Not fasting at all? Start with intermittent fasting. Compress your window a little, get comfortable there. Done that for a while? Try occasionally pushing to 17 or 18 hours and notice how you feel. Gut issues that have been hanging around? A 24-hour fast done occasionally and discussed with a doctor might be worth exploring. The longer fasts are for when you've built real experience with shorter ones. You've been paying attention to how your body responds, and you've had a proper conversation with your doctor about whether it makes sense for you. Fasting is not a competition. The person doing 72 hours isn't doing something better than the person doing 14. They're just on a different floor of the same building. Jamie is on the 2nd floor. And right now, that's exactly where he should be.
What I want you to take away is simple. Fasting isn't something you either do or don't do. It's a range. Each approach asks something a little different from your body and may offer something a little different in return. You don't have to jump to the top of the building. You don't have to go there at all. You just have to find the floor that makes sense for where you are right now. Tonight, think about where you currently land. How long is the natural gap between your last meal and your first one? Could you stretch it by an hour and see how it feels? Start there. Everything else follows from that one small shift. And something to sit with before you go. Out of the 6 types you just heard, which one resonated most with something you're actually dealing with right now? That was video 2 of 4. You now know the 6 types, what each one is generally linked to, and roughly where to begin. But here's something important. Everything we've covered so far applies differently depending on who you are. And for women specifically, it applies very differently. Women's hormones move through a monthly cycle. Fasting the wrong way at the wrong time in that cycle can sometimes work against you rather than for you. Video 3 is all about that. How women can fast in a way that works with their biology. What the menstrual cycle has to do with when you fast, what you eat, and how much your body can comfortably handle at different points in the month. Jamie is going to learn about this too. Not for himself, but because of the women in his life. And it turns out, understanding it changes how he sees quite a lot of things. Video 3 is next. Don't skip it.